Positive reinforcement and positive support are two of the most common buzzwords that you'll hear these days in education circles. They're the type of terms that mean everything but yet nothing at the same time. So what do they mean? Well, positive support means developing a relationship with students, a rapport with students in a way that maximises the chances of them being successful and enjoying their experiences of being at school. Positive reinforcement is a way of encouraging students, usually, for example, compliments or rewards. No-cost rewards. No-cost rewards are things like, if Johnny's behaving really well, we'll let him go, Johnny, you can go sit at my desk for 10 minutes or for an hour before the school ends. Or if you work really hard, Johnny, I'll let you go a couple of minutes early to recess. Or you can be the first person, you can help me write stuff on the board. With students who need lots of attention, who quite often or might be misbehaving because they're very energetic, getting them to help you set up the board, to hand out books and things like that at the start of the lesson, yes, as a reward, but it also prevents and gives them the attention that they need, and then quite often, depending on the student, they'll be happy and go on and do some work later on. Encouragement of, Johnny, you've done a really good job. Excellent. I can see that you've tried really hard here, and that sentence there in particular was done really well. I like how you described that elephant. With encouragement, using specifics is really important, using details. Saying things like, great, excellent job, doesn't really cut it. It's still good to do, but what people remember from their high school days and primary school days, and what really encourages people is compliments that are specific and detailed about something that they've done. It shows that you've noticed something that they've done instead of just saying, awesome work, great job, and moving on. Setting goals, especially goals that are realistic and achievable. By the end of this week, Johnny, I want you to be able to spell those 10 words. If you can do that, your reward will be such and such. It's an achievable goal. Letting students, telling them what they need to do by the end of the lesson so that they can then go on time. A favourite thing I used to do was walk around and sign, if they were doing, say, a worksheet, put my initials on a bit that I want them to get up to, and say, okay, and every student will be slightly different depending on where they're up to, and say, you know, we've got 20 minutes left to go, that's where I want you to be up to by the time you leave for recess. Developing rapport, we talk about that a lot in our other videos. Really super important and central to everything you do in a school. If you don't have a good rapport, a good relationship with students, well, you've got nothing, and your life in a school is going to be extremely difficult. Being organised. Students are professional students. It's what they do for a living, and they pick up on things like whether you're organised or not. They know if you've got a small group of students doing literacy, for example, they know if you're rocking up and you haven't even thought about what you're going to do. But they'll also pick up, even subliminally or subconsciously, they'll know that you've spent a bit of time writing down on a piece of paper. We'll spend 10 minutes doing this, 20 minutes doing that. You've read the book beforehand, you've looked at the worksheet and made sure it was appropriate. The 6-to-1 rule, 5-to-1 rule, whatever, I've heard this before in a few different schools. It basically means for every one negative thing you say about a student, Johnny, you didn't do that very well, 6 things that encourage them. If, for example, take something at home like tuning your TV. If you're not very good at it and you won't enjoy doing it and you'll avoid doing it, and that obviously in a school, students that avoid doing things, task avoidance, causes behaviour problems. Adults do it as well. So encouraging students as much as possible is the best way to raise their self-esteem. Students with poor self-esteem are those that are normally the ones misbehaving. So we do whatever we can to encourage students and trying to do as few things as possible to discourage them. Okay? If a student, for example, hands in a piece of work and there's 60% of it's really poor quality but 40% of it's really good quality, this sort of tells us that you're better off concentrating on the better quality stuff as opposed to dwelling on the negative. And that will hopefully encourage them to next time have 80% of their work being good quality. And enjoying your job. There's nothing worse than being in a classroom, even as an adult, and knowing that the person doesn't want to be there, the person running the Pilates session or the professional development course you've been to or whatever. Make sure that you don't, even if you don't want to be there because you're really tired or whatever, make sure students don't know that you don't want to be there. Okay? Positive reinforcement means encouraging students. Positive support means developing in a happy and friendly and caring environment, of course within the parameters of being professional. Okay, thank you.